to bring to fore the heart of the matter. Mr. President, the heart of the matter in Nigeria today fundamentally is security. And let me begin coming from the assumption actually propoundly delivered by Professor. Section 11 of our Constitution, public order and public security. The National Assembly may make laws for the Federation or any part thereof with respect to the maintenance and securing of public safety, public order, and providing, maintaining, and securing of such supplies and services as may be designed by the National Assembly as essential supplies and services. Section 11. Mr. President, let me also go further. Section 80 of the Constitution, establishment of consolidated revenue fund. 81, they say all revenues or other monies raised or received by the Federation, not be revenues or other monies payable under the Constitution of any act of the National Assembly into any other public fund of the Federation established for a specific purpose shall be paid and form consolidated revenue of the Federation. And it goes like, no money shall be withdrawn from the consolidated revenue until the Appropriation Act of the National Assembly prescribes so. No money shall be withdrawn from any public fund of the Federation other than the consolidated revenue until the Appropriation Act prevails. What are we saying today? For the last 2 years or so, members of the National Assembly have been lamenting. And I like to have the attention of the Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. Senate President, it is incumbent upon us by the motion ably presented today, let's put mirror into our faces. We are not representative of the global world. We are representative of Nigerians who elected us to come here. And therefore, whatever happens to us as Nigerians, we carry the burden. Mr. President, I took time to read some of our constitutional powers. And I would like to also recall your speech on the second session of the 10th Senate. And in your speech, you made mention of the fact that if security is the only thing this National Assembly will achieve, then it is all will go home and dry. Mr. President, 2 years down the line, what can we say is our achievement as a parliament? How many times, Mr. President, have we interrogated committees on defense, committees on navy, committee on air force, committee on police, committee on national security? These are committees that set out to achieve what the Constitution says we should achieve. Over the last 2 years, and you recall, Mr. President, too, when we were screening the service chiefs, here we raised a question, one of the questions that was raised to the Chief of Air Staff was, Chief of Air Staff, where is our Tucano? Where is our Tucano aircraft? fighter jets. And you also recall, this Tucano was purchased by no less than $1 billion borrowed. And the answer given to the parliament by the chief of air staff was, Tucano is in our domain, but we can no longer use Tucano because they have signed a contract which limited the operations of this Tucano. If you know ab initio that this Tucano has limitations, inhibition for usage, why in the first instance did you buy them? How much did you buy them? Who ordered the contract? Who did the procurement? Where are the Tucanos physically? Mr. President, we cannot, for having a divided
You see, Senator, you are protected.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President, this issue of security is troubling, and day in, day out, we are losing our servicemen to this insurgent. Day in, day out, all across this country. It is not one state or that, it is almost all the 36 states of the Federation. And I'm not going to stand up and claim that the president is doing his best. The only time that we can say the president is doing his best is when we interrogate the implementation of the 2023 appropriation, the implementation of the 2024 appropriation as it pertains to security. You recall, Mr. President, the National Security Advisor was invited last year, and he came forward and told us point blank that not enough appropriation was released to the security apparatus. We are here in the very comfortable confines of Abuja, but I can tell you in a very short time, I'm not a pessimist, in a very short time, if care is not taken, these bandits that are running towns and villages in Benue, in Zamfara, in Sokoto, in Kebbi, are gradually moving into the close neighborhood of this city. Today, Mr. President, I can confirm to you authoritatively that you can no longer go to Kwali, go to Kubwa, and these suburbs beyond 9 to 10 o'clock in the evening because of fear of being taken away. And therefore, consequently, it is important, Mr. President, to acknowledge if we continue to keep on doing things without result and keep on doing them, we are not only deceiving ourselves, we are deceiving the people that sent us here to represent them. I am not sure whether the solutions has to do with creating a summit. First, Mr. President, we must be able to interrogate our committees in a session with the executive to come forward and inform us what goes into their budget 2023, 2024, 2025, and what comes out into the implementation of the budget. Secondly, I do not think it will be fair to the security chiefs if we just go ahead and do a security summit. We must interrogate them one by one, subjecting them to the findings of the appropriate standing committees. Committees are created to serve as liaison to the Senate. As a committee, you don't need to have an information and you sit on it. Sitting on it will not give you any desired effect. Once you have security reports and the security architecture of this country, You could visibly see they are getting overwhelmed. Lastly, Mr. President, in the course of the interrogation, let's find how many number of military personnel do we have, how many are in the Air Force, how many are in the Navy, how many are in the Army, how many are in the police, how many are in the Office of National Security Officer, how many are in the NIA, and so on and so forth. We can't sit down and begin to believe that when we speak big grammar, it will solve the problem. It is much, much more than that. And Mr. President, like I said, during the speech, on the second session of the 10th Senate, the second session of the 10th Senate, this is a matter that you must lead. This is a matter that you must personally lead. It is not just enough to assign these responsibilities to committee chairmen, because I don't like to assume that this committee chairman failed, but I would like to believe we have not called these committees to action, interrogate them enough to be able to find out what are they actually doing. And not only all this security committee, every committee, it is the responsibility of the leadership, of course under the leadership of the Senate leader, to interrogate committees. What do we do? What are we doing? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And then the chamber will also contribute. I believe speaking in this manner, in plenary like this, is not going to bring any solution. And I believe the points raised by Senator Jimo, they are apt, they are germane. But I believe Security Summit is not the solution. It's much, much, much more than that. We need to do our homework. We need to bring data. We need to go to see the president with that data. Lastly, sir, it makes people a lot of wonder about so many things going under the leadership of the Security Summit. I'm not questioning their integrity, but I believe the servicemen are not getting their due protection, their due appreciation. They are not getting their due. They are not being paid back. And you see, in the last 20 months, we have lost almost 520 service chiefs, all servicemen, all across our armed forces. For how long can we continue to lose them? And the thousands of people, thousands of Nigerians that have been kidnapped on a daily basis. It is no longer any issue. People come to house and they will just kidnap you. And when you pay, they release you. And nothing has ever happened because the security servicemen are incapacitated. They are handicapped. Finally, last week on my way out of Lagos, I met someone who told me there is a possible invasion of Mahmudawa, a security outfit, all the way from Mauritania, and they are getting into Kwara and Oyo, and they are beginning to settle down there. Today, sir, the entire suburbs of this city called FCT is surrounded by illegal miners. And you remember what put Zamfara at the core terrorist streaking area is mining. The entire gap between Abuja and Lokoja has been taken over by illegal mining. And they do it openly, clearly openly, and nobody questions them. And people are busy buying plots between here and Kuje and Lokoja, just because we were told there are minerals deposits there, and therefore the business has opened. And when you open that kind of business, make no doubt about that, the entire populace of this city is at risk. I shall submit, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues, if you notice, the issue of is whether or not we should have a security summit or a security retreat.
Abaribe, and I want to say just two things. Number one, do we want to really be true to ourselves? And do we really want to be true to our calling here as senators? And the reason why I ask that is very simple, Mr. President. I have been here for a very long time. And for each session I've been here, we have had security summits. Each session. In fact, the last one, we were part of setting it up, and then we did everything. At the end of the day, nothing came out of it. So, there is no one of us here who does not know what is going on in his area. Do we want to be true and fair and say the truth about what is happening in this country? If we want to be true to ourselves, then we can go ahead with a summit, then we can deal with this matter. But if we are just going to stand up here to now make statements so that people will see us on television, then I want to profound, Mr. President, that we will just end up doing exactly what we have been doing, make statements, and nothing will come out of it. I so submit.
It's my name. I represent KB Central. Mr. President, there is nothing we have not discussed here in this Senate, particularly the 8th Senate and the 9th Senate, where we had security summit. In fact, if I could recall vividly, we had 3 security summits in this Senate, and we made very fundamental recommendations to the executive branch. And those recommendations, unfortunately, were not implemented. Mr. President, what we need is not security summit. We need to discuss with the service chiefs here in this chamber, one by one. We engage them into serious discussions. We tell them the emerging development, particularly the Lakurawa that is invading northwestern part of Nigeria, and also they are invading north central part of Nigeria. Just on recent, there is a new development, a new security threat. A new armed group called Bamuda, they are invading Niger and Kwara states, and very soon they will reach Oyo State. So, Mr. President, we need to discuss with the service chiefs. There is nothing we have not discussed at the security summit. If they come, let them tell us the strategies they are using to overcome these security threats. I don't believe that having security summit is the answer. Else, what we did in the past, what happened? All the recommendations are there and they are not implemented. So I'm of the opinion that we should call the Inspector General of Police, we should call the National Security Advisor, we should call the Chief of Army Staff, the Chief of Air Staff, the Chief of Naval Staff, the Chief of Defense Staff, and we sit with them here and discuss thoroughly. And we hear from them the solutions they'll come up with. And Mr. President, we shouldn't even talk about, taking only kinetic measures. There are non-kinetic measures that need to be taken on the part of the federal government and the state government. Virtually everything is now loaded on the federal government. When it comes to non-kinetic measures, state governments have a responsibility. Local government have a responsibility. It is by so doing that we will be able to overcome the security challenges in this country. I so submit, Mr. President.
Distinguished colleagues.
Mr. President, I want to think that what is before us here now is whether we should convoke the National Security Summit. Mr. President, if you ask me, I will say the answer is yes. Because, Mr. President, security is everybody's business. And these security challenges occur in various parts of Nigeria in various dimensions. It has become increasingly compelling, therefore, Mr. President, that in providing security solutions to our security challenges, there is no one-size-fits-all. And so, every day you read in the social media, senators are held responsible for insecurity in their various domains. Some out of lack of understanding, some out of mischief. Governors are held responsible, Mr. President is held responsible, yet every day we find activities within the Senate here challenging the challenges of insecurity. And so, Mr. President, that we have provided solutions in the past and they have not worked or they have not been implemented will not stop us from providing solutions. On several occasions in this Senate, in the 9th and 10th, solutions have been profiled, resolutions have been passed here on the need to rejig our security architecture. And so, now that we are confronted with this hydra-headed insecurity, because in my constituency, Mr. President, almost every day, almost on a daily basis, buses are seized, drivers are killed, especially in Otukpo, and passengers are abducted, or they walk into somebody's house, retired immigration officer's house, and kill him. So now, it's becoming very scary that even in your homes, within my constituency now, by 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, you must lock up your place. And so, sir, I think that now that we have attempted various forms in terms of solutions, and they have not given the desired results, there is nothing that stops us from continuing to explore all means of bringing this insecurity to a halt. And I think that a conference, a summit, where all Nigerians that have interest, all Nigerians that know how, will come and offer their own expertise and knowledge, will be an appropriate thing for this Senate to do now, at least for the image of the Senate. Let us do what we are expected to do. Convoke a summit, profile solutions, give these solutions to the executive by way of resolution of the Senate, and then ensure by the executive. I think that way we will be moving towards finding solution to the problems of insecurity in our country. Thank you, Mr. President.
So, is there a reason I want to thank you for allowing God to touch your eyes to see me? Because if there's anybody in these hallowed chambers that is badly affected by the security challenge this country is going through, I think I am the one. That is why I co-sponsored this motion. Your Excellency, sir, I come from a local government area that has 15 council wards. As I speak to you, all the 13 council wards have been overrun by banditry. And the new style now is that they are no longer posting flags. They take over your land, occupy your compound. They are no longer destroying schools, no longer destroying markets. They are living inside those facilities. As I talk to you, I am not even sure the President is aware of the enormity of the problem confronting Benue State and other states in the north central Nigeria in particular. So, sir, this is a very serious matter. Time was when these people were hosting flags to establish themselves openly for the federal government to know that there was a challenge. They have now changed tactics. They have taken over most of the states in the north central. And their peers among leaders of these sub-national units, they're not talking. therefore fear or being accused of not fighting hard or for whatever purpose. So this security summit is very essential. It's very, very essential. So that we will speak. I want to associate myself with the submission made by Senator Abamuru that as a Senate, let us come out and tell the world that this is our own position. Let us make recommendations. If there is failure on the part of any other organ of government, let the failure be established on that part of the government. But as a Senate, we owe our people a duty to speak out, to recommend solutions, and then allow the executive to implement or not, so that we will not be completely condemned alongside with any other person who is supposed to play their own rules. So I wholeheartedly submit that there is need for the national summit to take place, and the Senate should drive it. That is our job as the representatives of the people. We should be seen and not just talking, but doing the needful. So I support the convocation of National Summit. Thank you, sir.
Need for National Security Summit by the Senate as a foundation to the motion. As a matter of fact, while I remain the sponsor of this motion, Mr. Senate President, as announced by the leader of the Senate, 3 of my colleagues are also co-sponsors, and as a matter of fact, many of my colleagues have also expressed desire to have co-sponsor this all-important bill and motion. Mr. Senate President, the issue of security has become a pivotal edifice by which the foundation of our nation is rooted. The motion starts by addressing Your Excellency that the Senate notes with concern the high level of global insecurity which is arising due to the events in Russia and Ukraine, and the increasing problem created by the global north and the response from the global south, which include enhancing food insecurity and addressing sustainable development goals, SDGs deficits. And these global challenges also note that the growing impact of tariff war in America and the rising emphasis on the inward balance of power by various countries are reflected in the new international order that is growing now. Mr. Senate President, concerning immigrations and cancellations of even student visas as proposed by the new regimes, now which has necessitated some countries to raise funds even by selling their citizenship, selling their passports, selling their stay, and intensifying economic conflict and undermining globalization, which the global space has invested in for the past 60 years. Very unfortunate. Further note, Mr. Senate President, the significance of power, influence, and authority in geocentric level. As such, Nigeria must clarify strategic engagements in the international arena and the role of Senate in advising the executive to help government achieve substantial value for Nigeria and uphold her sovereignty. As even the next world war, may not even require warfare or militarism, but incredible growing economic war is gaining ground and destructive innovation in the global security system. Aware, distinguished senator, that recent events in our regions have led to the feeling of discomfort and insecurity, which I think this Senate has been taking virtually every day by its motions from different senators, which has placed the past accomplishments and the success of our military forces at risk, even though our military and its partners are striving to address those challenges. They do not have solution to global economic conflicts or the effect of no tariff, as with tensions growing in America and China. Military can dispose guns and all that, but they don't have solution to economic crisis and economic wars. As a result, insecurity across Nigeria has become very pervasive and imparting to both urban and rural areas, as we saw in some of those motions that were read today. What is characterized today, increasing banditry, ransom, kidnapping, terrorism are present issues across the country, as well as other violent crimes. Also be aware, Mr. Senate President, that historical trajectory which we cannot run from of our political history, such as the Kano riot of 1953, Eastern Constitutional Crisis of 1953, the Census Crisis of 1962, the Action Group Crisis of 1962, which repeated itself in 1967 and 1970, the federal election of 1964, the Western Nigeria election of 1965, the general election of 1979, executive versus legislative crisis in Kaduna in 1981, and the general election of 1983 cannot be forgotten as our new election approaches. Further aware, Mr. Senate President, that His Excellency, the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is of course very serious about the peace of Nigeria and the world peace for everybody. At church, there's need for some fact-finding intelligence support for Mr. President's efforts, even of the fact that most military strategies and intelligence and languages are now outdated. I want to say clearly that the language relied on by the military today are outdated because criminals also learn those languages and they are using them, such as Alpha Bravo, Charlie Delta, Echo Foxtrot, Golf Hotel, India Juliet, Kilo Lima, Mike November, Oscar Papa, Quebec Romeo, Syria Tango, Uniform Victor, Whiskey X-ray, Yankee Sulu Sulu. All these languages are completely outdated, and this is what our military guys are relying on to solve the problem of insecurity. So as you say, Papa Alpha, call for location, come over with your message. Criminal is also aware of what you are saying, and they know what you are saying. Therefore, there is need for this 10th Senate to create or participate in creating alternative language to be deployed by this military engagement, as well as enhanced funding to advance professional practice and traditional expected of the future military. We don't even know whether hierarchy is of significant importance to the management of security in Nigeria in future. We don't even know whether ranking is important at all, but we will know when we converge to discuss this at the National Security Summit has been proposed. Note, Mr. President, there is no country, and I put emphasis here, no country will allow a citizen to understand security by living with insecurity. That cannot be the only way. That is not the best option. To understand security by living with insecurity, we must eradicate insecurity. Therefore, the ideology of peace for all, as outlined in the executive policy of the Renew Hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu, should be opened and be promoted. Observe, therefore, that to address the challenges highlighted above, it is imperative that empirical fact-finding mission, National Assembly Security Summit, is organized by these senates to assist in providing requisite platform for enhancing and exhausting this far-reaching deliberation as a way forward. Accordingly, Mr. Senate President, I move this 10th Assembly by saying that we should set up an ad hoc committee very urgently to organize a 3-day national summit in Abuja here, comprising all levels of government and Nigerians, which includes delegates from the federal government itself, the state government, and the local government, as well as traditional institutions, to propose legitimate solution to insecurity and its challenges in this country. It is when we move and we converge and we discuss these issues and we televise this live and we bring people from various local government and state government as stakeholder of Nigeria and let Nigeria become chief security officer to themselves and distill this important element that we can move forward to solve insecurity and move to security. Like I said before, I have the last point, Mr. Senate President. The nation cannot wait. We can't wait to understand security by living with insecurity. Lastly, I want to urge that the federal government, after our conference, should implement whatever we are able to come up from that summit as a policy based on the outcome of the National Security Summit. So we have been discussing the security every day. We have been moving portions here and there. Police killing in Plateau, police killing in Jos, in Benue, in Borno, here and there. If we discuss Borno today, Odo come up tomorrow, Lokoja come up next tomorrow. So, Mr. Senate President, it is very important now that we converge as a Senate. We must lend our voice. We cannot leave the executive alone, to look for solution. We have to converge and discuss this. I so move, Mr. Senate President. Thank you for the time. My distinguished colleagues, thank you very much. Thank you.
As much as determination to face the challenges squarely, by my respected colleague, Senator Jimo Ibrahim, and I so move. And I want to add my voice on this very important motion because it affected me on daily basis.
Proceed.
Mr. President, my respected colleagues.
Mr. President, my respected colleagues, this issue of insecurity is a global problem. This issue of insecurity is a global problem, it's a global challenge. It's not a Nigerian problem alone. Have a political will and the determination to make the situation very responsive in terms of facing it squarely. The security agencies lack collaboration and lack intelligence gathering because most of the attacks need to be tracked and need to be foiled before even the attacks came. And if you look at the general situation we have in this country, the security that are saddled with the responsibility, most especially the police. The police are not doing enough because when they came out in the morning, in the night they allowed the criminal elements to go and do whatever they are supposed to do. And another very important issue, most of these securities were assigned to VIPs and they are overstressed, so they are supposed to be called to order to face the challenges. And another very important issue is to have a state police so that they can face these criminal elements squarely, because there is a foreign machineries who are operating without looking at the general situation of the masses, because they are callous, they don't even care about anybody. They operate in the morning and they operate in the night. So, Mr. President, this summit is timely, but the unfortunate situation we have to face and have a sustained and coordinated operation to face these criminals and also make sure that this country is cured, because Nigeria is blessed. We have no other countries than Nigeria. We have to face these criminals squarely and we have to come out with law. Anybody that was found guilty must be
deal with accordingly, whether by death penalty or by life sentence, because these are the issues that we are supposed to come as lawmakers to ensure peace and stability of this country. No country will succeed without having peace and security of our citizens. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, I know the President and the Commander-in-Chief is doing enough. They are giving funding, so there is need for and evaluation of that judicious resources are spent accordingly. And
Senator Ningi.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Jimoh Ibrahim, for breaking this up. The amendment I would like to propose, if it's accepted by my colleagues, is that should we agree to have a security summit, it shouldn't be 3 days. We can have a 2-day security summit instead of 3 days. So let me go into the prayers. There is only one prayer here, because the second prayer is the outcome of the security summit. If we agree to have it, then it takes care of the second prayer, which is to forward the outcome of the security summit to the federal government for implementation. Those in support that the Senate should be in the forefront of convoking a national security summit with a view to discussing the entirety of the security situation in the country, profiling solution, and at the same time rejigging the security architecture to enable us save the lives and properties of our citizens and give them hope and an opportunity to bring their inputs. Say aye. Aye. Those again say nay. The ayes have it. So the Senate leader will come out tomorrow with the composition of the ad hoc committee to plan the security summit. The security summit will compose of delegates from the states, delegates from the traditional institutions, from the student bodies, from communities affected by the insurgency, and also we will invite our colleagues in the House of Representatives and relevant committees to be part of it, and we also invite security experts to talk to us in addition to getting the executive to also partake, so that we will have a holistic discussion and debate, because security is everybody's business. I want to read particularly a paragraph in the motion that led to this. Senator Jimoh Ibrahim, while moving the motion, said that further aware that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is serious about the peace of Nigeria. As such, there is need for some fact-finding intelligence support from Mr. President's efforts, even of the fact that most military strategies and languages such as Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, Hotel, India, Juliet, Kilo, Lima, Mike, November, Oscar, Papa, Quebec, Romeo, Syria, Tango, Uniform, Victor, Whiskey, Extra Yankee are no longer exclusive to the military. This is worrisome. By the time we have that security summit, you will realize that the reason why these things have leaked to militants is because we also have a problem. The discipline, sometimes we are high-handed. When the police will throw away trained officers for minor offenses, when the army were out of discipline, sacked over 100 soldiers. Many of them will go into training of militants, and then the languages that they were taught will now be passed to the militants. So we will discuss the issue of recruitment, because I believe that the security operatives are as good as their training. How do you even recruit them? Well, most of these so-called militants who are training people in bushes across Nigeria were once security agents who for one reason or the other found their way out. So it's important. We also have to look at the strength of the fighting forces in the country. Are they sufficient to combat the rising insecurity? What about the communities? How can we best utilize the vigilantes? How can we have community policing? How can we have community protection? What should families look out for? If you suddenly see a truckload of people arrive in your market square, and then the number of ways they bring are less than what the number of people that arrive, it's a signal that when you see, you should speak. You must report them immediately. I do know that when I was a governor, I saw a situation like that. When you see 5-6 trucks loading people and bringing them down, and they go to the abattoir to mingle around, they are coming for jailbreak. They have one of their colleagues in jail that they want to spring a surprise. And if you don't arrest them on time to interrogate them, then you have a jailbreak. So we need to discuss these issues. And I want to thank Jim O'Brien for bringing this up. I think it cannot be too much. Let's do our part, send the communique to the appropriate agencies, invite the experts to address us, address the nation by implication, invite those who are afflicted to also join us. So I thank the Senate for this, and I concur that the motion to have the Security Summit is hereby carried. Leader of the Senate.